All right, so we're back at it again, right? On again, off again, on again, off again. Who knows what's next? But as we sit here right now today, UFC 249 is on, scheduled for May 9th. Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje. And let me tell you, man, this is going to be a good fight. This is going to be a good fight. It's you have to look at it as one of those can't miss type fights, right? I mean, you got an absolute savage in Tony Ferguson. Okay, the man is so insane, such a perfectionist, such an animal about what he does. He cut weight on the old fight day, April 18th. Was that what it was? April 18th? I believe it was 18th. He cut weight for it. Okay, as though he was actually going out there and fighting. Well, he does the weight cut before the 17th. I'm sorry. He went and cut weight for it. He made 155 for a fight that was canceled, already knowing he's got to go back out and fight May 9th anyways. Insane. Okay, it's not the easiest thing in the world, especially at the age the man's at. Okay, and then you got Justin Gaethje, the human highlight reel. I mean, look at the fights that he's had in the UFC already. Look how action-packed they've been. Okay, there's no way this one's going to go bad. All right? So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it, as we know that this is the fight that's on. Because once it got canceled, I wasn't 100% sure whether it was going to be Ferguson versus Gaethje, which came up in place of Ferguson versus Khabib, or whether it was going to end up going, since the whole thing got canceled, once it got moved out of California, and it was a little bit in limbo as far as to when it would be rescheduled to. Wasn't sure if they were going to go back and it was going to be with Tony versus Khabib again. But nevertheless, it's not Tony versus Khabib. That one's going to have to go down as a fifth time that fight's been canceled, which is, I don't know, absolutely incredible, man. But above and beyond that, we're going to get an awesome fight in and of itself with Ferguson versus Gaethje, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about it as this fight's going on, or as it's getting made, as I'm hearing about it, things like that. I'm sitting there and I start to ask myself, how it's going to go. I'm wondering. And I think, what if this fight was a kickboxing match? Right? What if these two guys were stepping into the ring under the rules of kickboxing versus coming in and stepping out under MMA rules? Okay? And it's an interesting thought experiment, right? So, both of these guys come from a wrestling background. But they both primarily practice their craft these days in stand-up. Okay? So how would it turn out if they went out there and it was just a kickboxing match, right? And it'd be interesting as I think about it. Okay, now think about Tony Ferguson. Okay, what does he bring to the table? All right, if you look at his fights, it's really interesting. He follows somewhat of a formula for the most part. As unpredictable as he is, as crazy as he is, as creative as he is, he does follow somewhat of a formula, at least a little bit. Okay, and that is he's a slow starter. He goes out there in the first round and he doesn't really look good. Okay, he looks like he's not getting his range all that well. He's got this crazy footwork where, sometimes he's orthodox, sometimes he's southpaw, sometimes he's absolutely squared up to an opponent. His chin's up, he's leaning on funny angles. He does all kinds of crazy stuff and it looks awkward. Looks like it's weird. His balance is off. His punches are coming at a weird rhythm. Things aren't necessarily landing great. Obviously he's landing some, but things aren't looking good. And then it's like it all clicks and he comes out for the second round and he starts to rev up and things change. You know what I mean? He starts to crank up that pressure. And if you notice Tony Ferguson, one of the things that's key about him is once he gets going, okay, it's the change, right? Think about his fight with, let me think, who was it that he was fighting? Who was it? Against Dos Anjos. Think about his fight against Dos Anjos, okay? One of the most interesting aspects of that fight was the difference between round 1 and round 2. Round 1, Dos Anjos, in my opinion, all day he was landing the shots. Okay, then all of a sudden Tony comes out there in round 2 and everything's different. And what was it that made the biggest change? The clear change was Tony decided, that's it, I'm done. I've got my distance, I've got my range, I've got the speed of the fight that I want to go at. I'm warmed up, I understand stuff. Now let's get going. And he started walking forward. And once he started walking forward, once he decided I'm not giving up any ground, I'm walking this guy down, that's it. Everything was different. Okay, because Dos Anjos couldn't go off his combinations anymore. Right? That was the main thing. He started throwing one at a time. Couldn't get off his combinations. Didn't quite have as much power. And then Tony just continued to ramp it up. Started throwing every punch. The thing about him is he's got every tool in the tool bag available to him. Right? Every punch available. Even the crazy ones from crazy angles that nobody else throws. Knees. The kicks. Elbows. He uses elbows incredibly well from both standing and on the ground. Sometimes from his back on bottom position. But particularly well in the clinch. I mean, he does it all great. Okay, once he gets going, he's got a beautiful counter left. Okay, he throws it so smooth. It's kind of like it's almost like a check hook, but he doesn't quite hook it all the way. It's kind of a combination of a hook and a cross. Okay, and he'll throw it out. He's got this move. He uses it all the time, particularly in his last few fights, where a guy will throw a right hand. He'll slip his head to his right slightly. He'll bend, make a little movement at the waist to get out of the way, and then he'll immediately counter over the top with his left hand. Okay, like I said, it's kind of like a combination between a hook and a jab. And I really think that's going to come into play against Gaethje, because we know how Gaethje's right hand is. We know how big he is with that right hand. So I really think that left hand for Tony, that counter left particularly, is going to come into play. He's got a great jab. It comes with a funny timing. It's off a little bit, right? It's not at the normal beat and the normal rhythm that you would expect that most fighters kind of seem to flow at. It just comes weird from both stances. So, and his cardio, man, out of this world. I mean, out of this world. This dude, he just continues to crank it up. He makes other guys with good cardio, like Max Holloway, realize that his cardio is the top of the mountain. I don't know, it might be between him and Colby Covington, man, for who's got the best in the game. But it's just like he doesn't even breathe deep. It's ridiculous with this dude, the amount of pressure that he puts on you. And it's not just like it's the cardio. I mean, this cardio is insane. He puts pressure on you that just, man, it tires you out watching it. Oh, it's insane. What he did to Pettis, the way he walked down Anthony Pettis and just started landing shot after shot after shot after shot. In my opinion, once he realized that he didn't have to worry about the power that was coming back from Pettis and he could just walk him down relentlessly, you got to see everything in the striking arsenal that Tony brings to the table. Fights at long distance with some really good body kicks, particularly with the left leg. Loves chopping at the inside of the left leg with the low kicks. I mean, he brings a lot with a stand-up game. But he's also got some flaws. And one of the big flaws in his game is he keeps his chin up and he's hittable. Okay, Tony Ferguson isn't known for great defense. He's known for just a lot of things, but it's not great defense. And that's what Justin Gaethje brings. Okay, when I think of Justin Gaethje stand-up, okay, two things come to mind. Just stand-up pop right away. One, the right hand. That right hand he's good with it, man. He's got great power. True, phenomenal one-punch power in that right hand. Okay? He can shoot it over the top. He can shoot it straight. He can get in close with it and shoot a short right hand. He can use it as an uppercut. He's versatile with it. Okay? He's versatile with it. And when you look at his last 3 fights, okay, the last 3, all first-round knockouts, mind you, the difference between that and the 2 fights that he lost by knockout to, what were the 2 fights he lost? Eddie Alvarez, and what was the other one? Dustin Poirier, okay? You look at those 2 fights that he lost by knockout and the last 3 that he won. What was the difference? He was measured and he was methodical, okay? So he's much more decisive with that right hand than he was before. The man's always been incredibly violent, okay? He comes in, Gaethje is just a destructive force, but now he's a little bit more measured, a little bit more methodical. And when he brings that to the table, dude, that's a tall order for anybody to deal with, okay? So he comes with that right hand, and he can use it any which way. And like I said before, Tony's hittable. And he's got great power in it. And the other thing is those leg kicks. When you think about Gaethje, you got to think about those leg kicks, okay? And the thing about those leg kicks is he throws them a little bit differently than everybody else. I mean, they're fast and they're hard. No wind up. He just immediately fires off with that low right kick, man. and he digs into guys' thighs, and you know it's hurting. Okay, but the thing that makes it a little bit different than everybody else, which is part of the reason why he's able to get so many of them off, is that he can throw it in so close. He throws it at a distance. He's so close that most guys can't throw that kick. Okay, they can't get real leverage on it. They can't get real power. They're too close. Their work would be smothered. But he can get it off there. So guys aren't used to blocking it from that angle. They're not used to seeing it and reacting to it that quickly. Man, and I feel like you're watching, he throws like 100 of them, man. And he just digs him in there and gets after guys, okay? So that's the other thing. Because Tony's hittable, again. And Tony's the bigger guy, and he's got legs, and Tony he's got no problem working inside. So when I think about Gaethje's right hand, and when I think about those low leg kicks, that's nasty. I mean, he's got a good left hook and everything, and don't get me wrong, he'll counter with that left hook well. He's no slouch with it by any stretch of the imagination. He uses it to counter good, and obviously he uses it in combos and stuff. But it's going to be nasty. I mean, he's going to be able to land that right hand against Tony. He's going to be able to get in there. He's going to be able to land that right hand. He's going to probably be able to land it a lot. Okay, if he's using that left hand as a counter, Tony's the taller, longer guy significantly. So the left hook's going to be a little bit tough, unless when Tony steps in, because Tony doesn't, his distance isn't very measured. He'll be on the outside, he'll land these jabs, and his jabs are like a telephone pole. Boom, 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 they're shooting out. But he'll jump in. Right? I mean, he'll jump in with his chin up and come in fast and everything, and he's able to get caught with either a right hand that comes over the top or a counter left should Gaethje decide to throw it there. I mean, he's not a master of distance in the sense of like getting in and getting out very quick, not getting hit and stuff. That's not how Tony's game is. That's not how he's built, right? He's there to be hit. There's going to be opportunities. He's built it all off of, I'm going to wear you down. I'm the grinder. You can't stand the pace and the pressure and the power, the shots that I bring to the table. I'm going to win. I mean, look at the last guys that he's fought, man. Everybody looks like they got hit by a truck. I mean, it's insane. It's insane the amount of damage that these guys take when you're talking about fighting Tony Ferguson. Okay? It's like they're going to come out and need facial reconstruction surgery or something, man. The dude's a maniac. But he's there to be hit. And Justin Gaethje throws that right hand. So we're going to have to see. And if it was a stand-up battle, they both bring so much to the table, and they're both going to be able to get a lot off, between Gaethje's right hand from multiple angles when they're getting in tight. And the way that those leg kicks, and when you're thinking about what Tony brings to the table with that jab, all the creativity, all the versatility. I mean, he's going to be able to get in close and land those elbows at times. He's going to be able to work that jab. He's going to get his leg kick off on occasion in the body kick. I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Both of these guys are different because Tony doesn't have that one-punch power either, right? So there's differences in what they bring to the table in their game. But they're both at the same time going to come forward and going to be relentless, And I think an X factor in this is going to be, as I mentioned before, Tony starting slow. I think that's going to be an X factor when you really look at it when it all comes down to it, because Gaethje starts fast. Last 3 fights, Gaethje came out there and said, look, man, I don't believe in getting paid for overtime. Get in and get out. Last 3 fights, 3 first-round knockouts. So you get a guy who starts fast on one hand. You get a guy who's known for losing the first round and not really starting fast on the other hand. I mean, I don't want to say that he's a slow starter, but he doesn't win the first round either, as far as Tony, Who knows? He comes out there and just lands square on him. He's been hurt, right? Tony's been hurt before. Pettis caught him and hurt him. There was a time in that fight when I thought he got stung a little bit when he went with Cerrone. I know Dos Anjos snapped his head back a few times. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, man. May 9th, they still haven't released the date, but this is going to be a good one.